Well, let's chat about Carrefour, which is a French retailer with 1,600 hypermarkets in more than 30 countries. So here we've got geographic diversification.
Indeed. In fact, I think that's just its hypermarkets. If you start adding in all the convenience stores and all the other places, they got over 5,000 retail point sales in France alone, and then they're all over Europe and in different parts of the world as well.
So in euros, here we're looking at the market cap of 16.3 billion euro, trading on a PE of 17.5 and a dividend yield of 3.3%. Chris?
Carrefour has been a great success story over many, many years. And it's taking a lot of strain in France at this point in time. Its margins are under severe pressure. But it has expanded very successfully into many other parts of Europe, notably into Eastern Europe. You know, since the fall of the Berlin Wall 20 years ago. It's been very successful there. I think it's still got an operation in Egypt. So that's about as far as its African forays have gone. It's in Brazil, taking a bit of strain there. It's been expanding all around the world. So the expansion plans of a lot of these companies, including Walmart, for example, have come to a bit of a halt since the global financial crisis. I'm talking about the foreign expansion. And they've had to really look more inward and do the kind of segmentation that I was talking about with Tesco, trying to get more people to go into more of those smaller stores and get that footprint a little bit different. So I think it's taking a little bit of strain at this point in time, but I'm still pretty optimistic on this one.
Do you follow suit here on optimism, especially considering we've got a PE that's much more reasonable than that of Tesco?
Yeah, it's more normalized. Let's look at the share chart, because sometimes a 5-year chart will tell a story. It's quite a tricky one. If you go back even further, it does appear to have an all-time high that's a little bit higher than this. But over the last while, it seems to have drifted a little.
Well, it's definitely drifted sideways.
So it's been around since the 1960s. The word Carrefour actually means crossroads in French, and that's because the original store was in Annecy, which is a very beautiful part of France down near Lake Geneva. And then it went, first big in France, and then it really has pursued a very aggressive global growth strategy. So as Chris says, big in China, Taiwan, Indonesia, all across the European continent, Belgium, Italy, Spain, so it's really got enormous presence. Whether or not headquartered in France, it's got a real true global vision, though, remains of interest to me, because it has been mentioned as a possible buyout target if the likes of a Steinhoff or a ShopRite or someone were to want to take the next step. A merger either with Tesco or with Carrefour has been mooted. I don't know if that's for real or not.
Your thoughts, Chris? You've got your ear to the ground on these stocks?
As Paul said, I think they've probably been more successful in their offshore ventures than Tesco have. But nevertheless, they are taking strain in France at this point in time, and that's where their attentions are being diverted. They've also got a succession thing coming up. The current incumbent CEO, I think, has been in the job since about 2012. He was an outsider. And interestingly enough, he's saying that they should be looking for an internal candidate, which I think is rich coming from him. But so succession will be an issue on this one over the next year or two.
Paul, I think we've got to call this one, unless you want to add some more.
I'm
actually off
France.
to Geneva on Saturday for the Africa CEO Forum.
Okay, well maybe
so I'll be sure to pop across to do some on-the-ground analysis and feedback appropriately.
I'm wondering, what's the problem with France? Because if the core business, France has got an election coming up, where it looks as though Emmanuel Macron, the kind of somewhat...
Oh, come on, you're telling me the polls are telling us that that's what's going to happen.
You're right.
Marine
I don't
Le
even
Pen
want to go there.
Exactly.
Because if I fail on this one and Marine Le Pen wins this election, it'll be 3-4-0 after Trump and Brexit.
I wouldn't bet against Marine Le Pen right now.
She's probably going to win the plurality, as they say, which means the most votes. Yeah. But then remember, the way the French election works, the top 2 candidates, unless somebody gets over 50, have to have a runoff. And it's almost certain, according to people I'm reading, that anyone other than her will win the eventual election. So,
well, let's see. I've heard a lot of this before in...
let me tell you, if she wins and they're looking to then look at a Frexit, as they call it, then all bets are off. That's a concern.
Yeah, it is a concern. And I think it's more of a concern than it would be as far as the Tesco and the Brexit side is concerned.
So let's call this one hot.
They're in the euro, and so you don't have the benefit of a declining currency.
Yeah.
Hot, not.
I'm still hot on Carrefour.
Hot, not.
I'm going to avoid for now. I mean, I still think Macron's going to win, but I'm not sure that's going to necessarily be the big driver.
I'm just not taking any advice on any political races right now.
Yeah, to me, Carrefour looks a little bit stretched right now, so I'm going to go
not hot.